passenger whose body odor caused emergency landing dies. A man's body odor that was so bad it forced the plane to make an emergency landing appears to have been suffering from necrosis and has passed away. According to the Dutch Telegraph, on May 29th, the 58-year-old Russian guitarist was on a Transavia Airlines flight from Spain to the Netherlands. He smelled so bad, other passengers became nauseous, and some began to faint. The flight was forced to make an emergency landing in Portugal, and the man was booted. Turns out the smell was caused from an untreated case of necrosis. Necrosis causes body tissue to die after being starved of oxygen. It can be caused by injury, infection, frostbite, and deep vein thrombosis. It can only be treated with surgery. The guitarist was eventually treated in Spain and was given antibiotics with doctors telling him he had an ordinary beach infection. Unfortunately, it wasn't an ordinary infection. The necrosis eventually spread to his kidneys, heart, and lungs. He passed away on June 25th. Transavia Airlines issued a statement assuring there was no risk of infection. Smell that?
Rotten durian causes college evacuation. Ugh, what's that smell? More than 500 students and professors were evacuated from a Melbourne college over a suspected gas leak. The putrid panic started when students and staff in a library building reported smelling gas. They were then evacuated by the local police force. After an extensive search of the building for the gas leak, firefighters discovered the stank was actually coming from a rotten durian left in a cupboard. According to the BBC, firefighters said a fantastic aroma spread through the building via the AC. For those unfamiliar with the tropical fruit, the smell can be a bit pungent, and it does smell a bit like gas, but farty gas though. According to the Melbourne Metropolitan Fire Brigade, the building has been all cleared, although that rotten, dirty gym sock smell may linger for a bit longer. It couldn't have been handled another way? A Nigerian woman is suing United Airlines after she claims she and her family were unjustly kicked off a flight in 2016. Queen Obioma and her kids were flying from Lagos, Nigeria to Ontario when they encountered trouble on the Houston to San Francisco leg of their trip. Obioma, who was in business class while the kids were in economy, found a white man in her seat. He refused to move despite repeated requests, so she sat in his spot. The man got up as soon as she sat down, allegedly beelining straight for the captain to complain about Obioma's pungent smell. When she came back from the bathroom, the man blocked her from getting to her seat. She eventually managed to squeeze past him, only to have an attendant ask her to step outside. He told her she was being booted off because the white passenger couldn't stomach her ode to Nigeria. She explained she was traveling with her children and they had important school appointments, only to have her kids escorted off the plane too. The family waited 5 more hours before the next flight, which meant missed appointments and more money down the drain. While United is actually allowed to throw out allegedly smelly passengers, Obioma is crying racial discrimination, claiming she was singled out and punished because of her black skin. Something definitely smells foul. We're just not sure if it's United, Obioma, the white man, or all three. What do you think?
Dad with face melted by acid watches his attacker get a life sentence. Following a case of mistaken identity, a man in Cornwall, England fell victim to an acid attack which left him badly disfigured. One night last December, Andreas Christoferos thought a delivery man had brought a Christmas parcel to his home, but when he opened the door he heard, "This is for you, mate." The attacker, David Phillips, splashed a beaker of battery acid all over Andreas' face and hands. Andreas described the horror of feeling his face melting. Andreas yelled for his wife Pia to call emergency services, but as she ran to his aid, she also stepped in the acid herself. Andreas was flown to Swansea Hospital, which has a major burn unit. Once there, he was put into an induced coma and placed on death watch, as doctors feared he could die of infection that very night. Andreas eventually recovered, but it's been difficult. He has required multiple skin grafts and surgery to save partial vision in one eye. Worst of all, when his 2-year-old son saw him, the baby boy ran to his mother in fear. Now, 10 months later, his attacker, David Phillips, has been sentenced to life behind bars. Follow the link in this video's description to donate to Andreas' recovery fund.
Bill Gates tries to make toilet smells better. Bill Gates has partnered with a perfume company in Switzerland to get rid of the repulsive smell of toilets. The project is an attempt to encourage people in the developing world to use toilets rather than defecate in open areas. Scientists discovered that bad toilet odors are primarily made up of 4 chemical compounds: indole, butyric acid, p-cresol, and dimethyl trisulfide. Humans have 350 olfactory receptors, with only certain receptors that respond to repulsive odors. Once an odor molecule binds to a receptor, it sends an electrical signal to the limbic system of the brain via the olfactory bulb, triggering the brain to identify and register the smell. Scientists have developed a fragrance that can block the receptors that typically respond to bad odors. Odor molecules would not be able to bind to blocked receptors. Consequently, the brain would not receive the signal that triggers the perception of bad smells. Instead, the brain would only identify the floral scent created by the fragrance. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have supported an initiative focused on creating better toilets for the developing world for the past few years, including the Reinvent the Toilet Challenge in 2012. Now that's what you call silent but deadly. All passengers on an American Airlines flight were evacuated on Sunday afternoon after someone farted so hard it made people sick. An unknown passenger reportedly dropped a stink bomb so bad that it warranted an actual deplaning. The cheese cutting apparently made passengers on the plane feel nauseated and overcome with headaches. The plane quickly landed at Raleigh-Durham International Airport in North Carolina, and passengers were released from the aircraft. Luckily, no casualties were reported from the windy incident. One big question though, what in the world did that stinker eat? Okay, now chuckles aside, farts, flatus, or flatulence can actually make you sick. Backdoor breezes are comprised of minor sulfur gas components, including hydrogen sulfide, and depending on the amount, it can cause headaches, nausea, skin, and/or eye irritation. So keep it in your pants or go to the bathroom or something. Man,